Hi, this is Amy, and this week at Montshire at Home, we are exploring the concept of density. And I like to think of density in terms of sink and float. So our experiments today are going to be sink and float experiments. Now, density I find to be kind of a hard concept. It has to do, we think of things that are light will float and things that are heavy that will sink. But that's not always true. And density has to do with weight, but it also has to do with how much of something you have. It's volume. It's a property of that matter. So even if you have a little bit of something or a big amount of something, if it's the same thing, it should have the same density. So to do our experiments today, we are going to gather a whole bunch of things. So find a bunch of stuff in your house that can get wet. And it's the right size so that it will fit in whatever tub of water you have. So I got a whole bunch of stuff. And then the first thing I want you to do before you start putting it in the water is do some predictions. Predict whether you think it will sink or float, or if you're doing it with somebody else, you might have a disagree pile. Sometimes we don't all have the same idea about what things are gonna do. So I've started sorting some of my things out that I collected, and I have some things over here that I think are gonna sink. Some things that we didn't agree on, so they went in our disagree pile, and then some things we all agreed were gonna float. So I'm not gonna worry about the rest of my stuff now, but what I wanna think about and do now is after we've done our predictions, we're gonna test. So you're gonna have some water, and I like to have a hot towel nearby because I usually drip, and you're gonna start with one of your piles and decide which ones you're gonna start with and then start to test. So I'm gonna start with my potato, which I had in my sink pile. Ooh, and it sinks. And then you might try something from another pile. I'm gonna try this foam from my float pile. Ooh, and it floats. Look at how it floats. And what I like to do with anything that floats though, is I like to do a little test. I like to push it under and see if it comes back up. In that case, the foam definitely floats. It is less dense than water, whereas the potato was more dense than water. Sometimes there's weird things that you might be able to get to float, but when you push them under, they actually sink to the bottom. So in this case, that lid is more dense than the water, but you can also make it float if you put it in the right way to begin with. So I like to do those sorts of tests. Something else that I really want you to try is I want you to try something big and then something little that's made of the same material. So I have a big rock here, but then I also have a tiny rock. This rock weighs a lot more than this rock. The question is, are they gonna do the same thing? So big rock first, definitely sinks. Our little rock was in our disagree pile. Some people thought it would float, some thought it would sink. It also sinks. So find things that you have big and little of, see if they do the same thing. So the ones that I think are the most interesting are the ones that your predictions maybe were correct. So keep track of those. Think about maybe why they did something different than you predicted, and let us know what's the most interesting thing you found that sank or float that's more dense or less dense than water. All right, see you later. Bye.